I'm Howard Bragman, and welcome to this episode of Gwissues. Today we're going one-on-one with the legendary performer, RuPaul. Thanks for joining us, Ru. You and I have known each other going on 20 years now, I think, since we met. I think you were in the Gay Pride Parade in Los Angeles. You were the Grand Marshal, and that was a long time ago, and we were both in our early teens, I'm sure, 20 years ago. You know, you have had a very non-traditional career, and having been in the entertainment business a long time, I'm impressed by people that are successful. I'm more impressed by people who continue to be successful. What do you attribute your longevity in this really difficult business to?
I think it's staying interested and engaged. I think, you know, when I first started out, there was a part of me that wanted validation from the world, validation from my father. And as I got into it, I realized that I could never fill that hole. And so I realized that what I was really looking for was the me, the part of me that that I felt was missing. And so in show business now, I'm motivated by laughter and colors and beauty and joy, things that actually excite me on a core level, you know. So I think if you follow that, I think that, you know, you will find your light, you will find your frequency that is uniquely your own, that will actually guide you. You know how, like, in the canyons and the hawks are riding those heat waves like that? I think we're the same way.
Well, all right, so you've done music, you've done television, reality shows, you've done acting, you've written books, you've had your own talk show. Is there anything you haven't done that you really aspire to do? Is there anything that's like, wow, I'd really love to?
Howard, I want a child.
Okay.
That is a lie. That is such a lie.
It'll ruin your figure. It'll ruin your figure.
I don't like children, actually.
Nice. Nice. No, is there anything, though, professionally that you still aspire to?
Yeah, you know, I would love to crack open the merchandising thing. I've had lots of merchandise out there, but, you know, there's still a stigma attached to people who dance to the beat of a different drummer, especially since my, you know, venue of choice is femininity and openness, especially in a masculine-dominated, ego-based culture. When you use openness and playing things, people have a lot of resentment toward you. So when I enter the merchandising realm, there's still a lot of stigma attached to what I do. And honestly, you know, obviously there's some of it because I deal with femininity and because, you know, the gay storyline, but the bigger one, and I've learned this in recent years, the bigger stigma is that drag queens break the fourth wall. And people who believe they are what it says they are on their driver's license don't want that fourth wall broken. They want to keep believing that the identity they've chosen is who they are. And drag queens are basically saying, you know, look, I'm a shapeshifter. Now I'm a man. Now I'm a woman. Now I'm a clown. Now I'm a goth monster. And people feel uncomfortable with that.
Have you been turned down in the merchandising area, or just not been successful with what product you've initiated in the market?
Well, you know, the products they've done okay, but it's not like those monster, you know, blockbuster products. I'd like to, and obviously we're going to get into more of that, more merchandising, especially with the success of RuPaul's Drag Race. More opportunities are open, but you know, the public is, you know, people are still afraid. They're afraid of life and of themselves, and I can't take it personally when they don't want to buy, you know, my whatever I have on the market, my record, or, well, nobody buys records anymore, but, you know, I honestly...
A wig line. I'm thinking if Ava Gabor can have a wig line, she's been dead for, 15 years. Can't you have a wig line?
Well, Raquel took over for that company. That was that same company that Raquel does. That was Ava's, the one that Ava did for her. But yeah, I think I think wigs would be great. I think that would be great. We're talking about that. Obviously, we have to have an in China, which is the hard part of making that happen. You know.
Well, and you were also one of the first, you know,
I was
you
the
were
first. The first.
crossover performer to have that Mac deal, which was an extraordinary deal in its time, that a drag queen would be promoting cosmetics. I mean,
Yeah, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
It was, I think it was courageous on their part. I think it was organic on your part, and it was really, really good. Let me change topics a little. Who in this business, when you look around at people in the business who've come before you and people around today, who really inspires you? Who are the people that you're like, wow, I love what they're doing, or I love what they did?
Well, that would be Judge Judy.
Of course. And why Judge Judy?
She is so real and so smart and so intuitive, and she still has her memory about her, you know, and she has the kind of conviction that I really admire in people. Now, obviously, when I was coming up as a kid, I had other sort of stars that I hitched my wagon to, but as an adult today, Judge Judy has all of the qualities that I aspire to be, and that actually the qualities that I admire in people. You know, she's present and she's conscious, and those are the things that I love today.
All right, so we know who inspires you. Who do you loathe? Whose career do you hate, and who do you detest?
Well, I have a soft spot in my heart for the stars that inspired me from childhood, and I still love them, even though all of them, I've met them, I've had dinner with them, and the way I see them has changed over the years, but it forced me to sort of split into two separate categories: the fantasy of who they are in my mind, in my heart, and then the reality of who they are as a human being who walks the earth. And it's an interesting moment when you have to separate the two, and you have to live there, still loving this, but understanding that this over here is who they really are. So, obviously I grew up living for, James Brown, who, by the way, was the first concert I ever saw was James Brown. And then I met him at his house in Augusta, Georgia, about 6 years later, after my first concert. So loved him, David Bowie, Diana Ross, and Cher. Those are the ones that I looked up to.
Yeah, I think it's a harsh reality. We're seeing it a lot in sports with Oscar Pistorius and Tiger Woods and Lance Armstrong. We're seeing that because somebody has an achievement in one area doesn't mean they're an amazing human being. And it's a hard lesson for people because we like hero worship and we paint people as either perfect or awful.
Right. Well, but you know what? It's part of the rite of passage. It's in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy looks behind that curtain and goes, wait a minute. You are so, and when she realizes that her fantasy of the wizard is really the most important part of the whole picture. So, it's not that they aren't, no one can live up to what that fantasy is, which is perfectly fine, and I appreciate them all as human beings. You do your thing, mommy, but I still hold dear to my heart that fantasy, because honestly, that comes from me. That's me recognizing myself. So the relationship between a film projector and the screen it projects onto, what's the most important part of that? Well, they work together, but I venture to say the film projector is the most important part of that relationship.